You're listening to the Monday Night Roundtable. For the next 2 hours, we'll talk local high school sports with the voice of the Oneida Indians, Tim Smith.
Richter close to the goal line. Touchdown Indians. Shaden Richter, 15-yard touchdown run.
The voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton.
Got him. Up the sideline, and a Cofield player gives that 40 yards behind the boom.
Broadcast live from El Rey and Oneida. You're invited to be a part of this show. Produced by the IH Sports Network, the Roundtable begins now.
Good Monday evening, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network, alongside the voice of the Indians, Tim Smith, and the voice of the Highlanders, Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Thank you for joining us. A little bit delayed tonight because of technical difficulties, but we're on now. That's what Greg Bond is here for. He's the mastermind behind the scenes. You don't see him, but he makes it all work, and so we thank him for getting us up and running. A lot coming your way tonight. We've got Scott High soccer players that will be with us. We've got Bo Kidd to talk about Oneida sports. We've got Jason Terry stopping by a little bit later on. We've got our legend of the game who will be here. But first, guys, as always, we're going to start with a look back at Friday night, and it was a tough night of high school football. Oneida fell to Rockwood 42-24. Scott High fell to Gibbs 42-14. Rick, I'm going to start over here with you this week. The Highlanders and the Gibbs, it was 35-0 at halftime. 42-0 when Gibbs kind of called off the Dogs early in the third quarter. After that, Scott High able to get a little bit of good things going. It was against Gibbs' younger players, but at least the game ended on a little bit more of a positive note. But as for Scott High, as we look week to week and try to find what this team is improving upon, I think we all came out of the Pigeon Forge game a week ago thinking that Scott High was finally making some strides that they'd been wanting to make on defense. So after the Gibbs game, what do you see that has been improved upon, and where does this team go from here?
Believe it or not, I really think the tackling has improved. The score would not indicate that, and maybe some of the statistics would not back that up. But I think the tackling has improved, and that has been a very slow thing to evolve, first of all. The second thing is that second half maybe can give us the offense some confidence. I know it was against a lot of the second and third unit that Gibbs put out on the floor, out on the field there. But the fact that you can just go out there, you can move the ball, you can find your receivers open, they make catches and yards after the catch, as Rylan Griffin did on his touchdown run. It's building that confidence slowly and surely. It's having the defense respond to what the other team does. And again, seems like every game this year we've played against a school that has a quarterback that can throw the ball. Either we're that bad in the secondary or the quarterbacks are that good. I have a tendency to think the quarterbacks are that good, and we may help them a little bit, but it's the fact that we've seen some throwers this season that most of the time we don't see that in 6 games. You know, you'll have a couple of games where somebody's a running offense and the quarterback is just keeper on the RPOs or the option play. So it's about making that improvement every day. We'll talk about, I guess, Clay County later on, so I'll cut my comments right there.
Well, you mentioned the quarterback play, and certainly Carter had exceptional quarterback play. Anderson County down the line is going to have exceptional quarterback play. Region 2 4A is kind of the SEC of quarterbacks, at least in East Tennessee high school football. Bryson Palmer for Gibbs was outstanding, and I made the comment that during the game, maybe during a break, it seemed like that Scott High got some pressure on him, by the way, from time to time.
Right.
But he was so calm, so cool, so composed, and it was like it was almost effortless on his part, and he was very, very effective.
He was very effective, and I can't wait till we find a team that doesn't have a good quarterback, that has a quarterback just wants to run, because I feel we've been getting better against the other team's rush offenses. I think we've been doing that. That's why I said tackling's been good. Across the front, we can bring a little pressure. We've now gone, I think, 2 straight games where we've looked at a 4-3, whereas we started the season going to a 3-4 defense. And even though you've got a linebacker who's walked up there that has 4 guys on the line of scrimmage defensively, you're not getting a lot of push with that because the hand's not in the dirt, they're not driving forward. So we've gone with the 4-3, basically back to that, trying to get a little more rush, a little composure at the defensive line, and I think that we've done that. What can we do to keep that up? our practices have gotten a lot more physical. In the beginning of the year, the first 4 games anyway, it was, let's line up. Tuesday's our hard day. We'll hit a little bit like that, but we take nobody to the ground. Last couple of weeks during practice, the running backs, everybody except the quarterback, the receivers or whatever, defender gets there, you tackle, you take them down. So it's building some toughness along the way, and that's the only way I really see that you can do it. If you're just basically going out and practicing sort of doing flag or two-hand touch, you're not really teaching kids about the hit, the wrap, take them down.
And you said, well, as you say, we'll talk about Clay County later on, but your comment about hopefully finding a team that does not have that outstanding quarterback play, I'm not sure that's going to come this week against Clay County.
No.
Very good offensive football team in the Bulldogs on Friday night. Okay, Tim Smith, Oneida, Rockwood. This was a very competitive game. It was an important game, and those two teams went toe-to-toe for so long. And coming into this, Oneida's strength this season has been their defense. If you had told me coming in Oneida's going to score 24 points, I think I would have said Oneida wins the football game. Did you see Oneida giving up 300-plus rushing yards to Rockwood? Because I didn't see that coming before this game.
I don't think I saw anything coming from that Rockwood game. I mean, it was just so odd. From the beginning, the first 4 minutes, each team scores 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're not 4 minutes in, and it's 14-14, and it's Oneida Rockwood. And so I was just scratching my head all night on that part because it was not identifiable at that point. But that's kind of how the season has been for the Indians, kind of trying to decide what the strength is going to be, what's going to happen. And, we've talked about it several times. We've talked about it in the pregame in this Monday night about the success of the passing game. And the Indians came out Friday night against Rockwood, and the passing game really did open things up at the beginning of it. I mean, it's the second game back with T.J. Meredith, so that was a definite improvement. And I think we saw it's hard to differentiate because after those 2 early touchdowns, Rockwood had to go to 2 safeties. They believed at that point Oneida was capable. I know the guys in the press box were just kind of looking over at us. I mean, at one point they said, if I were you, I wouldn't ever run the football with your quarterback and the receivers that you have. But the goal was to open up some space, and the Indians were able to do that. And we saw T.J. Meredith, whether it was because the safety was back or because T.J.'s back and in his second week back, he was finding some runs that we had not found all year long. So if you believe that the pass was opening up the run, which I think there's a case to be made for that, it was happening. And we were seeing Oneida run the football more the way we're accustomed to. But, again, it was after proving the passing game was such a threat. So 14-14 after the first few minutes, and then you can take it all the way down to the final moments of the third quarter. And don't want to pin. No game is pinned on one moment, right? And I think when you have some distance from that night, you can think back and realize that because Oneida turned it over when they were about to go in for a possible go-ahead score, but Oneida had turned it over 2 times before that, and Rockwood had scored touchdowns on those. So if you play a clean, no-turnover game, what does this one look like? It's a what-if at this point. But you could see a possibility where now Rockwood has to get out of their comfort zone if you don't turn it over and you're getting scores on your plays, and Rockwood now has to become a passing team to speed things up instead of the running team. But it wound up playing right into their hands because once we didn't get it in on that down on the goal line, we could have gone in for the first lead of that second half, closing moments of the third quarter. I would not have expected anything different than Rockwood to put it on the ground and drive back down and possibly score again, but there would have been time for you to do your thing, and then you can try to manage the clock. And then if you can score, now they have to come back and do it out of their comfort zone again. But things didn't go that way. And so, we were in I formation. We had a fullback, we had a tailback, and I just think that, it's so easy to say we should have done what we didn't, or, anything but what we did. That's an easy thing to say. But it's what it was. And so, you got to draw back and look at it. After that point, the competitive phase of that game was over. Rockwood goes 99 yards, and Gerald Hannibal was unbelievable. Not just in his size and his ability to run, but to have the size that he had, and also to have the ability. We were talking about a touchdown run, his last touchdown run, or next to last touchdown run, I can't remember, where he started right, he bounced off 2 defenders and cuts back to the opposite side, and still has the ability at his size to take it in for a big touchdown run. So, Rockwood was back in their wheelhouse and drove it down and pretty much ended the competitive phase of that game. So the question is, how do the Indians bounce back? I did see, here in fall break week, Indians were out there practicing this morning, 9 o'clock. They were getting things going. So there's still plenty of football to be played for Oneida. There are no must wins really still ahead on the schedule. You definitely want to win the next 3, and they're certainly capable of winning the next 3. But what's that going to look like? And certainly, if you turn it over 3 times against the next 3 teams or in the playoffs, then this is probably what you're going to get. So I think the coaches have the attention of the players. I think Oneida showed what they were capable of for the better part of 3 quarters in a hostile environment against a team that just wanted to beat them. A hostile crowd out there, which we haven't had much this year, right? Now you got a week to sit on it, which is probably the worst time of year to have 2 weeks before you have another game. You'd like to get back out and flush this one out, but they're not going to be able to do it. And so they're going to have to do it in another hostile environment against another very good team at Monterey. Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the turnovers. We talked about Rockwood's rushing attack. Caden Rector in this game, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is the 3rd time this season he's passed for more than 200 yards. What I would like for Bo Kidd to do, he's sitting here, so let's give him a homework assignment. I want to know before next Monday night, who was the last Oneida quarterback to pass for 200-plus 3 times in one season?
I've got a guess, but I don't know.
I would have a guess, but okay, Bo says he knows it, so we're going to task him with figuring that out. We got a lot more to come tonight. We're going to talk a little more football, then we're going to switch over to soccer, and much more still ahead. We're live from El Rey. We invite you to come out and be with us tonight if you'd like. This is the IH Sports Roundtable. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the IH Sports Network Roundtable. We're live at El Rey alongside Tim Keaton.
Sure.
It's Monday.
I'll take it.
Alongside Tim Smith and Rick Keaton. Ben Garrett, Greg Bond is behind the camera. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we're just getting started. If you want to come out and be with us, again, we're at El Rey, so come out and see us. Let's talk real quick, guys, about the scores from Friday night before we get into soccer, and Tim will start in Oneida's region. Of course, the Indians falling to Rockwood 42-24. That we know what that means for Oneida, that it's not set in stone by any means, and Oneida can help their case by going to Monterey and getting a win in 2 weeks. But Oneida no longer controls their own destiny for avoiding that first-round trip up to Hampton, as the Indians now facing the possibility of finishing 4th, potentially. But they're in the playoffs. That's a good thing because they've secured that already. Elsewhere, it was York continuing to take care of their business. York, obviously, the team to beat in the region. They defeat Wartburg 34-6, and then in Monterey, the team that Oneida will face next week, defeating Lakeway Christian 30-21. Now, I know nothing about Lakeway Christian, but in those 2 games, anything surprise you?
Not really. I mean, I think, a year ago, Rockwood started 0-1 in the region and wound up winning the region. It really looks like Rockwood and York are going to shape up for a, 10th week of the season, or 11th in this case, battle for 1 and 2. And I think that's a possibility. So we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, Monterey's going to have something to say about it. And I know there's a lot of scenarios when you've got a 5-team region. Wartburg has not shown that they're going to upset anybody here. I don't think this year. They're building a program down there, but it's going to be a jumble of the 4, and it would take a lot of explanation, I think, and math when we're just going to watch it all sort out. But it does feel like the Indians may be headed to Hampton in the first round of the playoffs. Hampton's number 1 in the state. When you watch Rockwood and how they ran against the Indians, you're going to have a chance. It's going to have to look a lot like the early part of Rockwood did, with minus the 3 turnovers, and you bring them out of their comfort zone and make them play from behind, that's a tall task. But every Friday's an opportunity, and you want opportunities.
It is.
Hampton, by the way, coming off a 37-0 win over South Green. Now,
Yeah.
not the same South Green team as years past, but still a good team, and Hampton made it look kind of easy.
Hampton's a very good team. I don't think anybody's going to challenge them, but and that's going to be a problem for them. Is they may not have a game until that first week of the playoffs, or maybe even the second. It's going to be a dicey thing for them.
It's not a necessarily a 2A game this week, but you'll see a lot because Hampton goes up to Gatlinburg-Pittman.
That will be a
And
good
that
game.
Gatlinburg-Pittman 5-1,
Well, that's true.
Hampton
Yeah.
undefeated. I mean, they got to play in Gatlinburg,
Right.
so that'll be a good test. We'll see
It will,
about
for
Hampton.
sure.
Learn a lot.
All right, Rick, and Scott High's Region 2 4A last week. Of course, the Highlanders falling to Gibbs. That was a region game. Gibbs won that one 42-14 to keep pace in second place, and which is, I think, a little bit of a surprise. I'm not sure anybody saw that coming in. Some other games in the region, Anderson County defeats Carter 49-22. That is a deceiving score because that was a 49-0 game at halftime, and then Anderson County just kind of took their foot off. I don't know if they just took their foot off the gas. I think they put their foot on the brake in the second half of that one. And then Fulton defeating South Dole 48-29. And so as it sits right now, coming in, I think all of us thought South Dole would be the team that finishes second to Anderson County. Right now, as it stands, South Dole's on the outside looking in at the playoff picture. So how do you see the region shaping up?
You've had the surprises. You've had Gibbs. You've had Carter. Fulton, Fulton, I think they thought they were the number 2 team. South Dole thought they were the number 2 team. I'm conceding that to Anderson County because we all know how good Anderson County is. I think they thought those schools would be the number 2 team. I think they still think they have a chance because one of them has a chance. I think still got 3 region games to go, and so they feel they still have a chance to do that. Gibbs and Carter, interesting pairing right there. I would have never thought I'd have saw Carter dominate us like they did, nor Gibbs do the same thing. So I'm at a loss of words there like that. I think you've got 2, 3, 4, and then 5 to 15. There's 4 teams in there vying for 3 playoff positions. It's going to be interesting. I mean, might be worth paying some money to go watch some of those games if they end up on a Thursday night.
And you, by the way, have done that. You and Harris have been to Anderson County. Saw them in the season opener when Scott High.
I have. He didn't go, but I did. But
well, see, I thought you two were just joined to hip and went everywhere together. So
no, he's up at McQuarrie Central tonight, and I'm here. I mean, so no. See, we surprised you, didn't we?
But here's what jumps off the paper at me. Carter put on a clinic against Scott High in the first half of that game over at their place, and they rolled to that 42 or 49 point first half. And then Anderson County's up on Carter 49-0 at halftime, just making it look easy. And Scott High still has to play Anderson County down the road, final game of the regular season. But Anderson County is for real, much like Hampton in single A. They're the number 1 team in the state for a reason. I'm not even sure where Anderson County ranks in 4A. I don't think that I've seen the poll, but
number 2 behind Greenville, I think.
Well, see,
or 2 or 3, 1. Greenville, I think, is 1, and I want to say Anderson County's 2.
There is no way that I would rank Greenville ahead of Anderson County. Not this year. And I get it because of the past. It is what it is. But this is going to be the year, I think, for Anderson County. So the bottom line is this is a fantastic region, top to bottom.
It is. With Anderson County, injuries. Knock on wood, if they stay injury-free. They lost Martinez last year, their quarterback. They thought that, they had the pieces in place to make the run last year. So they lost him, and they had to pull their offense in a little bit. So no unfortunate luck. I think they'll be maybe in the semifinals and or championship game.
All right, by the way, one thing that I've not mentioned, we're adding a new segment. We've been making these guys, along with our legend of the game, pick the winners every week to close out the show. But this week we're starting something different. We've been featuring football players. We've been featuring soccer players. Tonight we're adding cheerleaders. And so we're going to have guest pickers each week that are going to be cheerleaders from each school. And tonight it's our homecoming queens from Friday night. from a week ago Friday night, Olivia Rector at Scott High and Leah Terry at Oneida. So we'll have them on. We're going to talk more about these teams that we just talked about and the games that they've got coming up this Friday night, and let those cheerleaders help us pick the winners of those games as we get ready to close out the show later on. Coming up next, we're going to switch gears from football to soccer as we're joined by a couple of Lady Highlanders when the roundtable continues. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. Alongside the voice of the Highlanders, Rick Keaton, I'm Ben Garrett. We're at El Rey, and we're going to switch gears from football to soccer and slide in a couple of Lady Highlanders, Rachel Garrett, Ellie Lau. Rachel's my daughter. She didn't have a choice but to be here, but Ellie, thanks
That's
for
a
joining us.
disclaimer.
That is the disclaimer, so she rolls her eyes or whatever, what she is apt to do, then you'll know. Oneida, by the way, has got a game tonight. That's why we don't have Oneida soccer on. We're going to have Bo Kidd on in just a moment to talk about all things sports at Oneida. But, guys, Scott High soccer, huge win last week, probably the biggest win in a couple of seasons for Scott High. Y'all got the win over Kingston on Tuesday night, 5-4. That gave you second place in the region, in the district, and it gives you a home playoff game, which is going to be against Kingston on Saturday. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to ask you about Tuesday. Ellie was our player of the week, our first National Bank player of the week. She scores the golden goal in overtime. We're going to get to that, and we're going to get to you. But I want to here's where that play started. Okay, so Scott High goes up 4-2. The only two goals that Kingston had scored were really gifts. You guys gift wrapped them with a couple of, not you guys specifically, but Scott High gave them a couple of PKs with handballs in the box. And so it literally looked like Scott High was dominating the game. And then all of a sudden it looks like you guys run out of gas, and Kingston comes back. They score two quick goals, could have taken the lead in the final minutes of that game. It goes to overtime. So everybody thinks Scott High's done, right? I think you're done. It's 4-4. Don't look at me that way, Ellie.
I'm looking at you that way. I mean,
Less than 30 seconds into overtime, however, you guys scored. You took care of your business quickly. Here's where that play started. Katie Tucker, I think, got the ball off the kickoff. She gets it to Rachel. Rachel kicks it to Chloe Tucker, who assists Ellie for the score. So I'm going to start with Rachel. You first walk me through that play.
Okay. So on the kickoff, Chloe passed it back to me, and I passed it over to Katie. And then she passed it back to me, and I gave her a through ball. And she busted her butt through all those defenders, trying to dribble through them all. And I think she might have lost the ball, and they kind of, Kingston sent it up, and I sent it to the flag to Chloe. And Chloe got there, like she always does, and she gave a drop off to Ellie, which we had been working on a lot this season. And me and Katie both, we're very together in our shoot it. Like, it was so loud. And she shot it, and she made it. And Liv was there ready to back it up. It was, honestly, it was amazing.
Okay, so because I know Eric Henry, you guys work on flagging the ball a lot.
Yes.
You flag the ball, and then Chloe gets it back to Ellie. You guys had also been working on that. So you're saying everything about that play was designed.
Not designed, but we had worked on the passes that we gave in practice.
Okay, so Ellie, you're the hero of the game, and I got to ask you this. Was that a shot attempt?
Yes, it was.
It was a legitimate shot attempt. You were not trying to
Good
cross
job.
the ball.
No.
Okay, so you walk us through that play. But you're a junior, by the way. That was easily the biggest goal of your career. Walk us through it.
Well, I was working the ball through the wing, trying to get it down there the whole game, but I never could. So as Chloe was, working the ball down, I was there for her drop because I knew that the defenders, they crashed really hard. And when I saw an open shot, I took it.
So 25 yards out, when that ball leaves your foot, first of all, were you confident that it was going to go in?
No, I thought it was going over.
Were you confident it was going to go
I
in?
was very confident. It looked very well off of foot.
And so it winds up being a top 90 off of the hand of the goalkeeper for the win, and you guys beat Kingston. Now, here's what I want to know, because you guys are young pups. Rick Keaton and I, we know what it's like to be a Scott High person and get a win over Kingston. It doesn't matter, Rick, does it? I mean, it could be ping pong. If you beat Kingston, then you've accomplished something. Do you guys sense the enormity of what you accomplished by beating Kingston?
Yes.
Would you say that Kingston is your biggest rival?
Yeah.
Or
For
would you say Anderson County?
Kingston, for sure.
Okay. All right. So there you go.
Kingston's the team that Scott High athletes have played more in football with over 44, 45 contests over the years. Baseball, basketball, and soccer. I mean, Kingston is the constant. That seems like we've always been in a district or region with them, and we've had to have some tough matches with those athletes. And, we don't win many, but when we do,
It's sweet.
very much so.
Okay, so tomorrow night, this, by the way, huge week for Scott High Soccer. It starts tomorrow night with a visit from Alcoa. Alcoa is a perennial powerhouse in Class A soccer in East Tennessee. They're coming to Scott High tomorrow for senior night, unless that has been moved to Thursday. I'm assuming.
It's
Okay,
been moved.
so there you go. Okay, tomorrow night was supposed to be senior night. Either way, let me ask you, because we're going to get to senior night, whether it's Tuesday or Thursday. You've got 6 seniors on this team that are going to be playing their final games at Highlander Stadium this week. What have those seniors meant to your program, and what's it been like to play with those seniors?
Well, they've helped so much. I think they were a part of the first district championship their freshman year, and most of them played a lot their freshman year. They've taught the sophomores and the freshmen a lot this season about what to do on the field and off the field, even how to act in class and everything. They were just a huge help to the building of our team after all the seniors left our freshman year.
Ellie, if you had to pick a favorite out of those 6 seniors, which one are you picking?
All of them. They're all my favorite.
Great.
So you're a future politician.
Sure.
Okay, so that means Rachel's going to have to pick a favorite, right? And then I'm not even going to ask her because I know which one she's going to pick. She would say the same thing. She would say all of them. So you guys have played only 2 home games all season. You've got 3 home games this week. Alcoa tomorrow, Fulton on Thursday, and then Saturday's the big one, Kingston in the district semifinal game. So, Ellie, I'm going to ask you, you've beaten them once. Can you beat them again?
We can. If we play to our ability and how we know how to play and do what we're supposed to do, we can beat them.
Because really, if not for those PKs, Kingston would not even have been in that game at about the 20-minute mark remaining in the second half. Okay, so if you beat Kingston, then you get a rematch against Anderson County. It will be on the road and Anderson County. That would be on Tuesday night for a district championship game. Scott High Soccer has played for a district championship every year since 2017 with the exception of last year. Now, you guys are the youngest on this team to have played for a district championship. You guys were freshmen 2 years ago when Scott High played Kingston in the district championship game. So you know what it takes to get there. If you get that shot again against Anderson County, they beat you 2-0 last time, but it was a close game. What does it take to beat Anderson County?
Just playing how we always play. Playing like how we did against Kingston will definitely help us win against Anderson County.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question. Actually, I'm going to ask you one more question. First, I'm going to ask Ellie one more question. And then Rick may have a question, too.
I may have,
we may
yes.
not let you off that easy. Okay, so coming up, ask your question.
I've got 2 questions.
Ask them. I forgot my question.
What are we talking about seniors? Let's name the seniors. Let's give them some credit out here in the world. So who wants to name the 6 seniors?
There's Chloe Tucker, Katie Tucker, Caitlin Butts, Olivia Rector, Zoe Terry, and Abby Reynolds.
Very good. The other question I have is, do we yet know the Saturday schedule, what time that the kickoff is going to be for the region game?
I think he said 6:30 at practice. I may be completely wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he said 6:30.
I'm pretty sure that is correct.
Okay.
6:30, and that game will be at Highlander Field, on the football field rather than,
Right.
than on the soccer field. All the games this week, my understanding is, will be on
Yeah.
the football field. Now, let's talk about that real quick. I wasn't going to ask that, but talk about, Scott High's got the new flashing lights that so many people are using now on their football fields. Soccer doesn't get that luxury. I've not been anywhere to watch a soccer game where they had the flashing lights. So you guys got to utilize the light show on Thursday night and all that. Talk about the atmosphere in that game against Kingston.
Well, every time we scored a goal and those flashing lights went off, it was like a boost of energy. No matter how tired I was, I got so energized, especially hearing like the crowd and their excitement whenever the lights went off. It made me very happy.
Okay, so my question that I had forgotten, Ellie. 6 seniors. We've had all those seniors on, by the way, throughout this season on this Monday night show. You guys are on tonight because we worked our way through the seniors, and you guys are the only 2 3-year juniors on the team. So next year is your turn. You're going to be the only – there'll be other seniors on the team. Angel Cooper is going to be a senior. She's a junior this year, and I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting. Okay, so there's just – okay. It's pretty slim pickings for the senior class next year. But you guys will be the 4-year seniors on the team. It's going to be your team to lead next year. Are you prepared to step up and take on that leadership role?
I mean, I think so. I think me and Rachel, we've been trying to help the seniors, to help guide the freshmen and the sophomores with all the stuff and getting ready to play the game and how we play in the game.
All right. Rachel, Ellie, good luck tomorrow night against Alcoa. Good luck Thursday night against Fulton. And then especially good luck on Saturday night against Kingston. A huge week for Scott High Soccer. Take advantage of it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll step aside, take another break. When we return, we're going to flip back over to football as Bo Kidd joins us from Oneida High School right after this. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network, live from El Rey. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Tim Smith. I almost called you Rick Keaton again.
That's what happens when you miss 2 weeks.
That's Greg Bond. This is Levi James. This is Gavin Terry. So this is our segment where we bring in our first National Bank Players of the Week. Gavin, Levi, I've lost it.
We're just going to have to start doing an edited show.
Yeah, we are.
Levi
By the way, Rachel's not the only one that rolls her eyes at you when you talk or when you tweet. Just wanted to make that point while we were all in a jumble here. Now continue, please.
Thanks, Tim Keaton. Levi James, our Player of the Week from Oneida, and Gavin Terry was not named Player of the Week. However, he has been having a very solid senior season. So Brady Strunk is sick tonight. He could not join us, and immediately I texted Rick Keaton. I said, who are we going to bring on? He says, bring on Gavin Terry. So, Gavin, thank you for joining us. Levi, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to start over here. Levi James, our Player of the Week from Friday night in Oneida's game against Rockwood.
All right, Levi, and you're here 11 tackles, double-digit tackles.
Yep.
And there was a lot of opportunities for tackles Friday night, but there wasn't those weren't easy tackles. And the first question I got to ask you, now you're a sophomore, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and you're playing in the secondary, which normally you want your defense, you want your line and your linebackers making most of the tackles. You guys are the last resort there. So that means there were several times that the running game for Rockwood was able to break through and get your way. Now, they had a guy, Gerald Hannibal, a big old running back, about 240. What was your technique to try to take him down? What did you have to do to tackle a man like that?
Me and Landon Lindbergh been talking about it all week. Just got to hit him low, him in the knees. It's the easiest way to take them big boys down like that. Can't hit him up high or else he'll run you over.
Right. And now he seemed to run the ball quite a bit. Did you
really
remember it that way?
Yeah, he's a really good player.
Yeah. So now you play both sides of the ball, but most of the action Friday night was offensive or defensively, and this was a competitive game. Talk about, were you surprised that the game 4 minutes in there was both teams had scored 2 touchdowns? That's not quite what you expected, was it?
No, usually do pretty good on defense off the start, but their run game was really strong coming out, so we couldn't stop for some reason.
Yeah.
And offense did really good throwing the ball. Jake Hewlin, he's really fast, good player.
Yeah. So it looked like it was going to be a shootout early, and then it kind of settled in. But Rockwood was similar to a lot of games this season where the Indians have played well. They've been in it. There's not really a game you got down really heavily against York, but you guys were able to come back and even make a bit of a threat from having been down 28-0. Every game's been close.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to take to turn close into getting over the hump and getting a win? What are the things you all are working on?
We just can't really get down on ourselves. We get down on ourselves a lot when we get down by a touchdown or something like that. Just try to, when our seniors step up, lead us, try to keep our heads up, keep on playing.
Yeah, and it seemed like after that they stopped you guys where it looked like you were going to get the touchdown to take the lead. Then they were able to take it 99 yards. It seemed like after that it was really hard to get back into the game. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, it was kind of like a momentum stopper. Coach May talked about it. He thought that the momentum was going to stop right there if we didn't get in, and it did. And after that, we kind of hung our heads and didn't really do nothing good on defense.
So there's been a lot of mixing and matching in the secondary this year. You didn't have TJ early in the year, then TD got hurt, and you're without him for the rest of the year. So everybody's had to kind of move around, jump around, but you seem to have found a comfort level there. I admire, because I'm not a big guy, but you're not a big guy at all.
I'm not a big guy.
But you don't care to run in. You're very confident, and it seems to me like you're so confident you know it's what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's a whole big part of that. Why do you know so well where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing?
Well, originally at the beginning of the year, I was playing corner mainly. And then versus Williamsburg, Jarrett got hurt, so they threw me in there at safety. And it's fun playing safety. You come down here, come downhill 20 yards and just hit anybody, you know. It's a fun position, but, yeah, I like playing safety.
So you like delivering the hits?
Yeah, I like hitting, but I can't do much. I'm kind of small, but I like getting tackles.
Well, no, I think didn't you get a hello darling earlier this year though?
Yeah, first game.
Yeah.
That's because Mark Matthews loves me for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I won't speculate. But that's fine. Mark's a good guy, but he doesn't just hand those out, and I don't think he's given out more than 3 or 4 this year. So. That's a pretty big thing, but I know Mark absolutely does, and I think it's because he admires the way you play, and that you're not afraid to get in there and mix it up. So you got a week off, but y'all are practicing still, right?
Yeah, we got to keep on practicing. Prepare for Monterey.
Yeah, and what would you say is going to be the biggest challenge when you face Monterey a week from Friday down there?
They got a good, strong run game. We just got to get their running back's pretty good. Got to get him tackled. Got to get him on the ground. That's probably going to be one of the big ones right there.
Okay, I got 2 more real quick ones, and then I'm going to toss it over to you guys. Is there somebody, as you were growing up playing middle school or whatever, that you saw ahead of you, an Indian that you saw and you were like, I want to play the game like he does? Is there somebody?
I'm not really sure. I didn't pay that much attention.
Okay. You were worrying about what you were doing? What about college NFL? Have you got a favorite player, favorite teams?
College, Tennessee. I like Tennessee. I don't really look at one player. I kind of go around from different players, watching, taking stuff away from their game.
All right. You looking to announce someday you're going to take Mark's spot if he gives it up? Would you take that spot?
Maybe. I don't know how good I'd be. I don't know if I'd be as good as a.
You'd be as good as Mark.
Yeah, probably actually.
That's the reaction we want.
There you go.
All right, so Levi, hang tight because I got a question for you here in just a second. But first, we're going to swing it over to this side of the table. And Gavin, Terry, I don't want to single anybody out, but I can single you out because you're sitting here. But if someone asks me 4 or 5 players on that Scott High team that are going 110% every time the ball is snapped, Gavin Terry would be one of the names that I would mention. So congratulations. I know the season is not going the way that you guys want it to go, but I want to say congratulations on having what has been a very solid season for you so far.
Thank you.
Gavin Terry wears number 53. He's the center on the offensive unit. Came to me back in August and said, hey, can we be on the radio sometime? And basically I said, we'll try to work you in. So you're here at the round table tonight, Gavin. We looked at last Friday night. Another one of them teams that for some reason we just can't stop them, or they come out with so much fire and energy, it takes us a while to figure out how to stop them and get going. You've not played much on defense this year, but did I see you on the defensive line Friday night?
Yes, sir, for one drive.
One drive.
Yes, sir.
You're part of the 4 seniors on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. It's rare that a Scott High team can ever go through a year and say, we start 4 seniors. It's usually a sophomore, a couple of juniors, and a couple of seniors. But let's talk about your other seniors on the offensive line.
Clayton Carroll, he's good. Like, he knows the plays, he knows what he's supposed to do, and he knows what the left guard is supposed to do, which is a sophomore. Mm-hmm. He helps keep him straight, and he helps keep the rest of us straight. And our right guard, Landon Crabtree, he's strong. He may not look it. He's only 165 pounds, but he's probably the strongest guy we have on the team pound for pound. And then Adrian Stanley, he has those moments where he absolutely demolishes the guy across from him.
Like 20 yards downfield.
Yes, sir. He pulls like the blind side on him. I don't know the name of the guy.
But it's a good group of players. Landon is one of those youngsters that we see a lot of energy from. We see it during practice through the week, and come game time, I mean, he ratchets things up to a different level as far as energy is concerned. And,
yes, sir.
And he was also playing in that ogre formation, that deep back, so he's got a touchdown or two this season.
Yeah, he got one on South Doyle. It was amazing watching him.
Yeah, for a lineman to get to do that. As the team continues to move forward, got 4 games left. Clay County this week, Fulton,
Then
Gatlinburg, Pittman, and then Anderson County close out the season. Is there any one of those teams on there that, you know, you'd want to play if somebody just pick 4 and let's play this one?
I don't know. That's a tough choice. I'd probably go with Clay County.
Clay County? Well, that's the next game up, so
Yeah.
it's easy to get that one over with. People a few years ago would have said Fulton because they had been dominating in state champion team such as that. As you prepare this week for Clay County, your coach, Chris Harris, was the offensive coordinator at Clay County last year.
Yes, sir.
Has he said anything during film study today or anything that, you know, does he have a vision about going to Clay County and picking up a win there?
Oh, yeah, we all do. We all do. I think if we give it 100%, we'll win. And we have the potential to win. It's just that sometimes, well, actually not sometimes, most of the times this year, we haven't been getting into that right mindset. It's taken us until halftime to actually get there, but by then it's already too late.
The hole's too big to start climbing out of
Yes,
that
sir.
at that point in time there. So Coach Harris tells me all the time, he says, look, you know, we need 4 quarters, complete quarters. We talked about that on the field over at Central the other night. And he said, you know, if we play a quarter like the whole game like we played this quarter or the second half at South Doyle, it's the slow start. It's sort of, from my perch way up high, I look down there and I think, oh no, we feel like we've stepped back and they've got such a lead we can't come back from it. Can this group of young men, can we recover from that? We'll start off this week, win this game, and see you next week. Can we recover from that and try to have a good start to the game?
I think so. Like Zane Lau was talking today during film. He was getting after it, saying that we could win. We just need to have the right mindset. And I 100% agree. If we come out with a good mindset for the rest of these 4 games, we have a good possibility to win. And I'm not just saying that. We can be a good football team. We just have to want it. And we have been struggling to find that want.
In my pregame every week, I talk about the offense and finding some consistency, finding a way to move the ball, sustain drives, pick up first downs. Is that how you think? Is that how you feel also? If we can do that and get on the scoreboard, we can be competitive with the other teams?
Yes, sir. Like, the offense wins games. If we keep drives sustained and the defense is off the field most of the time for a good reason, like turnover on downs or punt, their offense has to punt, we can win. If we just keep scoring and keep them from scoring, we don't even necessarily have to score. We just got to hold the ball more and sustain drives.
I'm going to give you the final word right here. What do you think Clay County, a long road trip, 2-hour road trip, no matter how you look at it, going there on Friday, that mental preparation for that long bus ride and then to get there and get ready to play at Clay County. Your thoughts on that, just the prep it's going to take to get there?
Yeah, I mean, that bus ride's going to be awful. But I have a feeling that, dang, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I do that all the time.
I feel
Don't
your
worry about
pain.
it. Yeah.
But that bus ride, it's going to be long. But if we stay locked in and focused, we'll have a good night ahead of us. And can I go back on something I said earlier? I'm not just looking forward to play Clay County. I want to play all of them. But I'm having a good feeling about this week, watching film. But I'm probably going to have a good feeling for the next 3 weeks, too.
There you go. Positive attitude from our fellow here, Gavin Terry.
I got one question for each of you guys, and I'm going to start with you, Gavin. We have talked to Bill Hall. Rick has talked to Bill Hall on the air after each of the last 2 games, and Coach Hall has had the same message both weeks. He said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but he says the line of people who want to win is long. The line of people who want to put in the work to win is short. You're one of those people that are in the line of people who want to put in the work to win. As a senior, what is your message to everybody else on this football team, seniors included, but especially the younger players, about having to have the desire to win? It's one thing to say, I want to go win the football game. It's another thing to do it. What is your message to them?
You just got to put in the work. I mean, nothing comes for free. You can't want something but not expect to work for it. That's what the summer practices were for. We had to work to get to the spot where we are now. And we got to work to get our mindset right to win the next 4 games.
All right, and Levi, I got a question for you. Now, this one's a little less serious. Well, no, it is serious. Your older brother, Noah James, he doesn't play football, so I can't ask this question necessarily about football. But I want to ask it about soccer because we make soccer a part of the show as well. Levi James versus Noah James on the soccer field one-on-one.
Me.
Okay, good enough.
Me.
Hey, hey, do one thing for me. Give me a hello, darling. We're auditioning you for.
Hello, darling.
I mean, that's just
That's outstanding.
that works.
Yeah. All right, Levi James, Gavin Terry, thank you guys for joining us. We're
Thanks
just
for having me.
halfway through. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll talk to Bo Kidd about Oneida High School sports. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. As we begin hour number 2, we are live at El Rey. Still plenty of time for you to come out and join us tonight here live on location alongside Tim Smith and Rick Keaton, or Tim Keaton, I might as well say. I've been saying it all night. I'm Ben Garrett, and we are now joined by Bo Kidd, Oneida High School Sports.
Can I say something real quick?
Let her rip.
Of course, Kevin Akers, he filled in here for me the last 2 weeks, and I certainly appreciate that. Kevin's a long way off right now. He's up in Boston. He wasn't able to be with us Friday night. And if you got to listen to that, of course, we were audio only, and for the live version, Bo sat in with a headset, and Kevin's probably pretty nervous after that because, I mean, instead of hearing us all say on the air, Bo, what this or what that, and then we have to relay the answer, we would just ask him, and he was right there to say it. So Bo did a good job with us Friday night, and I appreciate that. Just want to throw that in.
Okay, so because last year I was keeping the stats for you. So Ben Garrett, Bo Kidd, who are you picking?
I
asked these kids that, so it's only fair.
I think it's
Go ahead, just say it. I can handle it.
Well, anyway, let's go, Bo.
Bo, Oneida soccer playing at Cumberland County tonight to wrap up the regular season. Tell us everything going on at Oneida High School.
Well, on Monday, this past Monday, 2 Oneida teams finished their seasons out on Monday. Oneida men's and women's golf were at the region tournament down in Athens, Tennessee. The boys team had 2 players qualify for the region tournament. Aaron Lee, George Klein, both of those gentlemen competed well, but missed that cut to advance on. Shelby Smith as well for the Lady Indians. She missed the cut as well. So congratulations to both of those teams. Boys team had a phenomenal season this year. Girls team still on the rise, but they are definitely on their way to improving over the next couple of years. So congratulations to both of those teams finishing up on Monday. Of course, the girls team, girls soccer, 2 games last week. The win 6-1 on Tuesday at William Blount. I believe it was, Cameron Kennedy, Clara Burris had 2 goals. Cameron Kennedy, Alexia Jones, Jillian Cross, Lydia Klein, all with goals in that contest. And then Thursday, of course, at home, senior night, hosting the Lady Highlanders. It was a close game at the half. It was 1-0 at the half. And then Oneida's offense got to clicking a little bit in the second half. Ended up being a 6-0 win. 6 different goal scorers in that contest. Kenley Duncan, Cameron Kennedy, Claire Burris, Alexia Jones, Allie Smith, Lydia Klein, all getting on the scoreboard in that contest. So congratulations to the OHS girls. They're in action currently right now at Cumberland County tonight. Don't have a score update yet just on that. You may have gotten one. I've not gotten one yet.
I have not. So I assume it's scoreless.
I'm guessing it's scoreless. I've not heard anything.
Probably just started. I mean, because it's 6 o'clock over there.
That's true.
That is true.
It's probably 7 o'clock here, so they're
Didn't
probably just starting.
On Thursday also, the cross-country teams competed at Cove Lake, at the Cove Lake Invitational. The women's team had a top 15 finish. for the women's team, and that was Keely Strunk. She finished 13th overall with a time of 23:26. She had 3 teammates also competing. Haley Flores, she clocked in a time of 31:55. Shannon Baird also had a time of 36:32. Vega Roche just 5 seconds behind her at 36:37. The boys team, only 2 competing on Thursday at that one. Cayman Sexton, he finished with a time just under 24 minutes, and then Austin Jeffers was just over 25 minutes. They have improved throughout the season. Keely Strunk has had a great year for the OHS girls cross-country team. She's had a top 5 finish up at McRae County also this year, and had a great finish over, it was a top 30 finish, I believe, at Norris, which had 185 roughly female runners in that in that meet. So she's had a fantastic year as well. I want to give a shout out though to the middle school girls soccer team. A fantastic year. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short this weekend at the state tournament. They fell to Cosby in the semifinals, but did secure 3rd place with a win over Campbell County. They had 7 young ladies named all tournament team from Oneida, and that was Raylan Blevins, Julie Chambers, Addison Douglas, Ashlyn Douglas, Miley Dunlap, Avery Rector, and Jerica Stanley were all named all-tournament team for that team. And they graduate 20 8th graders this year. So that is a huge, huge loss that she's going to have to try to replace for next season.
I was just going to mention that going back to the soccer game last Thursday night, got to sit and watch it. B.J. Gislison did an outstanding job. I want more B.J. I want next year, I would like to see a middle school game of the week. Here's my wish list with B.J. Gislison calling that one, and getting some pub for these younger kids that deserve it, and some grandparents and aunts and uncles that could get to see those middle school games. That's what I'd like to see. And then the second thing I want to say is, Ben, I've got an idea. If you really want to answer that question, just put out a Twitter poll, Bo Kidd or Ben Garrett, and see what happens.
I'm
Bo,
for
are
that.
we ready
Yeah.
for this?
I don't know if I'm ready
Rick
for that.
agrees.
I mean, I can tell you who the winner's going to be. No, I'm afraid not.
He'll vote till it does.
But this coming week, I know it's fall break, but I do have a couple of events going on this week, of course. Tonight, of course, once again, the Oneida girls at Cumberland County, they're playing tonight. Tomorrow night, middle school football move their game from Thursday to Tuesday. They'll play at Birchfield tomorrow night. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff. Of course, you'll be talking to Coach Terry here shortly as well about his win last week and the upcoming week.
We don't have to.
Yeah, well, true.
We don't have to.
It's always interesting to talk to Coach Terry, though.
It's good to get him out of his shell.
A little bit, just a smidge. But also on Thursday, there will be a home meet for cross country over at Oneida Park. That'll start at 5:30. So,
okay. All right, Bo Kidd, as always, thank you for joining us. We'll take another break. When we come back, as Bo just alluded to, we'll be joined by Oneida Middle School football coach Jason Terry. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We're live from El Rey. Still a lot more to come tonight, including our legend of the game. And Rick, I got to tell you that the bar has been set high on this legend of the game. So it's going to be interesting he's in the house, by the way. He's here. And it's going to be interesting for everybody to see who that is when he slides in just a little bit. But first, a legend of a different sort.
Can we stop? I thought I was the legend.
yeah,
I come here every week
You're-
hoping to be
You
that
are.
guy.
You
Way
are. We
too
tell
long.
you. We tell you.
We just don't
every
tell
week.
you that.
Every week's Legend Week.
Oneida Middle School football coach Jason Terry. Coach, you just continue to roll. Your team's still undefeated as you get into the final stages of this regular season.
Yeah, they're playing pretty good right now. We're 7-0 going into Birchfield tomorrow for a tough game against those guys. But the kids have really stepped up, and they bought into what we're selling, and pretty proud of them.
What about surprises? Who has been your biggest surprise this year, in a year that you expected one thing going in and you can't believe what you're about to tell me about this kid?
Well, I don't think you was here the last time, Tim, that I was
That's
on here.
correct.
But
Let's point that out.
That question was asked, and like I said,
obviously I didn't listen either.
this is true. But I'm really tickled with the offensive line. I had question marks, not from their ability standpoint, but were we going to be physical? Were we going to be able to do the things I needed to do? And they really stepped up to the challenge. And but this good group.
So 7-0. You got Birchfield. It's moved up to tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
correct?
night at 7 o'clock at Birchfield.
Okay, and so you've had a lot of success, but offense hasn't had a lot of touches. They were talking about last week that because of that success, there's not been a lot of it's been a lot of defense and not a lot. I mean, the offense is getting just a few plays, right? Because it's been working
and
so
Bo
good.
can tell you a lot more. He keeps stats and does a great job for us. But I think last week maybe 18 plays. Am I correct, Bo? Something like that on offense. So yeah, it makes it difficult from a play calling standpoint, and a lot of times it's rhythm and getting in a zone and kind of and it's tough sometimes.
Yeah, you're excited to try to run a play to set something up and then you score.
Yeah, so and that's a good problem to have. Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Oh, am I supposed to feel sorry for him on that, or so is this the final regular season game?
Final regular season.
And so what's the look ahead for the Indians after Tuesday night? Now this is not a game that's going to have an impact on your playoff standings or where you go or anything
That's
like
correct.
that. Correct.
Everything's set in stone. I think in every level right now. So we'll go into Birchfield tomorrow. We'll have a bye week next week, and then we'll play either the winner of the Oliver Springs Dayton City game.
Okay. And now have you played either one of those this year?
We played Oz once.
Okay.
And
how did that one go?
28-0, something like that. So
was it here? There?
It was here.
Okay.
It was here, so it'd be a rematch here again if that was the case. Or Dayton City, I've seen them, but they've not been here.
But you've dealt with them in the past.
Have. Yeah. They've been somewhat of a nemesis for me in the past. So
what is it that those two teams do so well that they're where they are?
Well, they like any good offense, they run that wing T double wing set, and they're really good at it. I mean, their coaches coach it hard, and when you get good at something like that, it's tough to defend. So they're good.
Yeah. All right. You guys got questions?
Oh, absolutely. We've got questions, but I'm going to let Rick go first.
Well, Tim suggested I shouldn't do this, but I want to know about why the pumpkin crop didn't turn out well this year.
Me and you both, because it costed me a lot of money. But it was a tough year in the South, not just here in Oneida, but all around. Pumpkins are finicky. They don't like the extreme high heat, and at my house in the month of June, it was 95 plus for many, many days with zero rain. Now, I know it rained some throughout the county, spotty showers, but at my house the month of June it did not rain, which is fine. I can always water. I have big watering tanks. I can get along with that, but the heat's tough. And then it seemed like a switch went off, and in July 1, it never stopped raining. So they're finicky. They don't like that. I had a good one going. It was on pace to be really good, and it blew up. It cracked open, so maybe I pushed a little hard. So it's bad year for me.
Well, for people who don't know, Jason grows some of the large pumpkins, those 1,000-pound pumpkins. Yeah. However, he's never beat his dad. I don't think in all the years that they've both grown pumpkins together like that.
He has.
Beaten
his dad. But I was just about to ask, Jason Terry or Bruce Terry?
What? On what?
Who's the best?
Growing pumpkins, of course.
Oh, it's him by far. Now, I may hold the state record, but and I got that on.
But I don't like to talk about that.
No.
Do you name them?
Huh?
Do you name them?
I don't.
Okay.
Some people do. Some people do. A lot of people do, but I don't.
What's the strangest name somebody ever named a pumpkin?
Hi, Tim. There's been some doozies, but I can't think.
Next year, when you start growing this pumpkin, can we put out a
Twitter
poll to see what to name it?
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Let me ask you this: it's getting cooler this time of year. What do you do when it's like cool outside? Do you ever go to bonfires or anything like that?
Yeah, been to several.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah. What?
And we're going to have one this coming in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I hear you were exhibiting the musical skills.
Oh yeah, Coach Hall.
Recently.
He got the band back together down at Sky High not too long ago. So something we started back, I don't know, 2002, 2003. Coach Hall called up and said he's getting the band back together.
And
so
what's
there we
your
were.
role? What do you do?
I'm backup vocals. Coach Hall.
Backup vocals.
Yeah, Coach Hall by far.
Harmony.
Yeah, lead man.
You never do the high, like bluegrass, high tenor?
No.
See, I pictured you more like that. Okay.
That was my question,
Yeah.
by the way. Thanks, Tim. I was going to bring that up because.
I didn't know if you were
no,
gonna
I
do
was
that.
just going to ask. I got some text after that, because it went viral on Twitter that you were down there and you were on stage with Bill Hall, and folks immediately started saying, Scott High's got an administrative position open, and Jason Terry is an administrator.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you caught any flack or not, but I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. Okay.
What I was hearing was that you all were just going to straight go to band, Tennessee theater, and all that kind of stuff, cover band things.
It's been talked about, cover band type stuff. Yeah.
Talent that we did not realize.
Yeah.
So who's the lead singer?
Coach Hall, Bill Hall.
All right. Does he play drums too?
No, that's Coach Lambert.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Coach Lambert.
Well, you got
that's me and Vince and Jeremy.
I understand.
We're backup vocals.
The front man has to be able to draw the crowd, if you know what I mean. And you and Coach Lambert, that's not really going to be your strength.
Okay, because this whole getting back together, that was not just about Bill Hall and Jason Terry. You had Jeremy Hamby up there too.
He was part of the original. Yes.
Yes, he was. And so I got to ask you, you're both administrators. So speaking of administrators, Jeremy Hamby is a rock star at Scott High.
Absolutely.
Okay? The kids love him.
Absolutely.
Jason Terry, Jeremy Hamby.
What's the question?
Growing pumpkins.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jeremy, we can mold him the way we want him.
All right, Coach Jason Terry, Oneida Middle School, good luck tomorrow night and good luck in the playoffs, although I'm sure we'll see you again between now and then.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, we've got this week's Legend of the Game as the roundtable continues. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Tim Smith. He's Rick Keaton. And it's time for what has become, I think it's probably safe to say, the most anticipated segment of our show. Sorry, Jason Terry. And that is our Black Cat Legend of the Game. And by the way, speaking of the Black Cat, their haunted house is open now every Friday night, every Saturday night on Main Street in Oneida, Scott County's biggest attraction this time of year. So if you need something to do, get out and see the folks at the Black Cat and tour their haunted house. It's well worth the price of admission. And so our Black Cat Legend of the Game this week is Coach Keith Shannon. Of course, Coach Shannon started as his head coaching career at Sunbright and then spent a stint at Scott High. And before I turn this over to Rick, Keith, I'm gonna make a comparison that I know you're not gonna like, but I think as folks look back on Scott High football through the years, the two eras that are going to stand out in terms of wins, the first was under Coach Jack Diggs, and then the second was under Coach Keith Shannon.
Well, there was we were blessed with a lot of great coaches, administrators that really supported the program in those days, and still of course, but and then just players that were just coming out of the woodworks at that time. So we were very fortunate to be a part of that at that time. That's for sure.
Coach Shannon has spent 8 years as the helm, 2009, 2010, set out 2011. He was still on the staff at Scott High School, and then 2012 to 2017. 8 years, that is the second longest tenure of a Highlander coach. Overall record of 41 wins, 48 losses. That's the second highest number of coaching victories. And I can go on if you want me to. 6 years that he had playoff teams, had 8 playoff games, had 4 winning seasons, and even a bowl win over North Green in there like that. So Coach Shannon started at Sunbright. Back in the days when you ran, what was it, a veer or
yeah. Now, I tell you, don't let me go off too long, because now talking football and offense and things like that, I'll ramble. So just kind of reel me back in.
To that.
When we started out at Sunbright, we were wishbone, double tight, single tight end, inside outside veer is where we started. I remember going to clinics with Tony DeMayo was the guy's name, who was really talking a lot of veer option at that time. And very quickly playing against the likes of Oneida and the fine defensive staffs that they had in those programs that is at that level, we very quickly realized that, those running backs that we've got there in the backfield, they're not going to block. So in order to continue to progress our offense in those days, how could we block them? And we knew we were getting zero man. So if we removed a running back from the box and put him at a wide receiver, that blocked, in essence, that DB. And So what we started doing is we started getting in a lot of spread formations, and then the inside-outside veer very quickly turned into some midline option. And whenever we started getting the midline game going, that's when we started getting some all-state quarterbacks, and really had some success there in 99 and 2000. So
you came to Scott High, and you joined the staff of Davey Gillum. I think you were the defensive coordinator for all 3 of the years that he was at Scott High.
I actually was the defensive coordinator for Coach Sexton in 2002, 3, 4, 5. Then Coach Gillum, the first year that Coach Gillum was there in 06 as the head coach, I was just a position coach. Actually, Bill Hall was the defensive coordinator that year, and so what we ended up doing from that standpoint, is kind of went back in after that in 2007 as the D coordinator, and in 2007, 8, and then on.
The thing about the coaches that you mentioned there, I mentioned Coach Gillum, you mentioned Coach Sexton, offensive-minded guys.
Yes.
And I think during that period of time, it sort of helped change your offensive philosophy somewhat.
It did. Just very blessed to have been a part of those staffs. Coach Sexton's intensity was just phenomenal. So we really enjoyed that. Then whenever Coach Gillum came in, the offensive mindset that he had was so much different than anything that I ever had, and I began to understand that, knowing your opponent, whenever I'm scouting somebody from the defensive side of the football, what do they really want to do? Are they a run-first guy or are they a pass-first guy? And I always was a run-first guy with the veer option and the different formations. I was just trying to get in a position where I can run the football effectively. Well, whenever Coach Gillum is there, he's looking to pass. And that was the tip of the spear whenever we're talking 06, 07, 08, and whenever the high school football offenses really started to change in our area. That spread offense, playing basketball on grass is what we were talking to our kids about whenever we're recruiting our hallways at Scott High School. We're going to come out and we're going to play an exciting brand of football. We're going to spread it out and we're going to throw it everywhere. And really, but from the coaching standpoint, I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, they've got 7 in the box at Sunbright, or, early on, that's a run box, a 7 in the box. So Coach Gillum is like, oh, no. If it's anything, less than or more than 5, we're looking to throw it. And so the thing from an offensive line coach, which I says an assistant offensive line coach under Coach Gillum there, I'm like, so you don't really want us to worry too much about blocking anything other than a 4-1 box. He said a 4-1 or a 3-2. He said everything else we're going to throw against. I'm like, I'm in. It makes the game so much simpler whenever you can do that and just control and dictate what's happening between those tackles with your throwing, your passing game.
It's an interesting scenario to go from where you were to get into that, and then you continued to follow that plan after Coach Gillum moved to Anderson County.
Yeah,
you stepped up to the head coaching position, and you continued to.
And again, Rick, you and H and all of the guys were there with us as we went through that. Again, just like I'd said whenever we started talking, I was so blessed from the players and the coaches that we had during the time at Scott High, and we've had some really great quarterbacks, and you name off the great quarterbacks that you've ever had in Scott High history. Some of the names that are very much at the top of that comes along. It's Jake Sexton and Billy
Started
Hall.
with William Christ and Jake Sexton.
William Christ and all of those guys. So whenever I take over in 09, we're sitting there with Jake Sexton. And then from an offensive coordinator standpoint, we've got Jackson Sharp on staff. And guys, I tell you what, there's some of the best offensive play callers that I've ever been around. Of course, Jackson Sharp fits into that. Bill Hall does as well. He can call an offensive game. And then the offensive coordinator down the road at Coalfield, Jason Wilson, who he and I had coached together at Sunbright. He was my running backs and DB coach in 90, 98, 99, and 2000. So All of those guys are just magnificent. But being blessed with that at Scott High in 09 and 10 and really all the way through our tenure there, I would have been very silly to have not kind of stayed with that mindset. It just fit our personnel better.
And as far as, with that time we've been in existence 40 years, start setting the all-time records. Wesley Smith, all-time leading rusher. Jake Sexton became a 1,000-yard receiver his sophomore year.
Yes, he did.
While he was being groomed to be a quarterback his junior and senior year.
Yep.
And, you just funnel that in and realize the kind of talent that you had in those positions. And it takes more than just quarterback. We're talking about receivers like Nathan Griffith, who had 85 catches his senior year.
All of those guys are very special. The memories that I have of being able to work with them and things. One of the kids that was really a phenomenal athlete there in 2010, Daniel
Smiley
Goad, and that's it. Daniel Goad, whenever he came out his sophomore year, we knew he was a marvelous athlete, but we had groomed him to be that receiver opposite of Nathan. And, of course, Nathan is so special. He's out there making catches, and we're seeing the coverage roll Nathan's way, man under, zone over, those different kinds of things, being real physical with him on the line of scrimmage. And then Daniel's drawing single coverage. Well, Jackson Sharp knows what to do with that a lot of the times. And you've got a kid that when Jake Sexton turned the ball loose, you can hear it before you see it. I mean, he throws over your head in practice. It's just whoosh, through the air. So Jake would put it on them anywhere on the field. And that was a dynamic offense. And I think Jake Sexton that year, 30-some-odd touchdowns, 72 or 3% completion percentage, 2 interceptions in the entire season. And they were both in the first half against Southwestern Kentucky. One of them was a defensive pass interference, which was not called,
that
obviously.
That game was up there.
No, that one was down here. It's his senior year. And the second one would have been a 97-yard touchdown because we threw a screen out of our own end zone. And they had Southwestern as a big school, had some wonderful athletes, and they had a defensive tackle. It's about 6'4", 6'5", tips a football, intercepts it, and returns it for a touchdown.
I remember that.
So that was their only score.
And we talked about Smiley. I just mentioned that Jake had set the Highlander receiving record as a sophomore. Moves to quarterback as junior. Smiley steps up. That's his junior year also. Over 1,000 receiving yards. So he broke Jake's record. And then out of necessity, Smiley was moved to running back his senior season, rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's the only player in Highlander history that has caught more than 1,000 yards in a season and rushed for more than 1,000 yards in a season. And sometimes we forget about that and don't mention that. We think about Wesley with those 3,900 yards over 4 years, but we don't mention Smiley nearly as enough as we should.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you another one there. It's hats off to Tony Lambert. That year that we're talking about, whenever Daniel Goad was a senior, Tony was that guy that he was committed, and obviously graduating Jake, it changed the dimensions of the offense, and I was able to coach offensive line under Coach Lambert in 11. And, the great thing, whenever you have an offense like we had in 2010, early on in the season, we've still got people that probably are thinking early on in 11 that at some point they're going to go back to their spread wide open principles and things. We went over to York Institute, I think, and that might have been our first win of the year over at York Institute in 2011. And I remember Andrew Starr, whose son went to school over at York Institute. He ran and caught me after the game. He said, here we are thinking all week that you're going to be throwing the ball all over the field at some point. He said, do you know how many passes you guys even attempted tonight? And I'm like, no, I really don't. He said, 2. I said, wow. I was amazed because, the year before it was close to a 50-50 ratio. But in those games, and that was the right thing to do with that group of kids. We had Matt Smithers and Big John Jones. You put them together on one side of the line and you give the ball to Daniel Goad running behind Isaac Blakely and Eric Blakely and the guys. And goodness gracious, Easton Burke, and it was a very formidable group at that point in time.
It certainly was, and that was the Coach Lambert style of offense.
Absolutely.
We've seen it there for the 1 year, and of course at Oneida they've seen that style, and Tim is referring now this year about Oneida now suddenly becoming a passing team under Coach May. Well, it's been that way for many years. I mean, it was run first, and then maybe throw if you're late in the game and you need points there like that. So it's great to hear those names and names that we forget so easily from year to year.
Absolutely. And, talking about Coach May, he and I had coached against each other, obviously, whenever I was at Sunbright, and I've got a deep respect and admiration for Coach May, Coach Keith Henry, and Jim May, and, of course, Big Jim Birchfield. But I can tell you, in '99, Coach May and I was talking on the phone. We had played Powell Valley, which, of course, now is Cumberland Gap, early in the season. And we were a little bit – I can come up with a whole bunch of reasons that we didn't get the win, but ultimately we didn't get the win. And Oneida is playing them mid-season, and it's pivotal because now Powell Valley was just – it was that once-in-2 or 3 decade team that they had. And, we had had a little bit of success here and there, and Coach May called and was just kind of picking her brain a little. And I had a group of 7th graders, and I told him, I said, well, I've got a group of kids here in class. I said, but I can talk for a few minutes. And I think that we ended up spending probably 3 or 4 hours on the phone that day, but he is a true student of the game.
Right.
And I can tell you that Coach May, whatever it takes to win and be competitive, that's exactly what he will do, and they will always, always do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's exactly right. Go ahead, Tim.
I just want to – I don't know if you know this or not, but we have something in common. Dwight Murphy goes around town telling everybody he discovered both of us. Did you know? I don't know if you knew that, but he takes credit for you being here, and I mean, it's like the Sunbright thing never happened with him because he can do that, right? But I definitely remember I'd called games for years. At that point, it was 10 years probably, right? And hearing something's going on down in Sunbright, you didn't hear that very often. And it's hard at a single A school. You don't always have the athletes like you said. Powell Valley had that year.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time, that's what happens at a single A school. And so I mean, I just remember we were all thinking, what is going on? it's just so unusual. And I guess I'm kind of sad that you're not continuing to contribute to the game in a bigger fashion. I understand moving on and doing other things, but I mean, just such a talented ability. I mean, it's a loss to the game.
Well, I'll be honest. That looking back on it at Sunbright, it's such a special time down there. And again, I can't take credit for those athletes that were just naturally born into that area at that time. Just good fortune on my part. But I'll tell you, whenever we rolled in, and I started coaching there in the early 90s, and we'd had very minimal success at Sunbright. I think there was a winning season in 55. Then you get back to Doug Sharp's era in 79, 80. There's a couple winning seasons there. I was on one of the teams that was a 5-4 winning team in 88. And then it was just pretty much very, struggling times. And then we saw the athletes coming whenever I started coaching as an assistant coach under head coach Don Edwards in probably 90, 95, 96. We saw them coming. So in 97, whenever Coach Edwards became the principal and I got to be the offensive coordinator under Sammy Captain, well, things changed with those athletes that we had. We had 5 offensive linemen, and I kid you not, all of them would bench press 320, 30 pounds. We had a 240-pound all-state fullback, an all-state quarterback, and we rolled for a bit there. But and then we got better as coaches whenever we were finally able to put it together and really start competing with teams like Oneida in 99 and 2000, and teams like Greenback and Midway. And those teams were all on our schedule, and it wasn't lean times for them. We had just gotten to the point that we could compete with them. So, but yeah, it's great times.
Keith, let me ask you, some of the best teams, if you go back through history, some of Scott High's best teams, of course, one would be that, was it 79 or 80 when Bill Hall was a quarterback under Coach Jack Diggs, and they won 9 games. That would stand out. The 84 team, Tony Lambert was on that team. Then Coach Hall's 99 team, I think it was, with Scott Thurman at quarterback. But then some of your teams would rank right up there as well. But you're in a league with Fulton and
Austin East
back
Catholic,
in the day. And then it goes to Alcoa and CAK, and you got them in there. And so every year, and I wasn't interviewing you week to week, that was Rick's job, but before the season every year I would interview you, and we would look at the season ahead, and I would always ask you about having to play those teams, because it didn't matter how good your teams were. You had those teams standing in your way, and realistically Scott High was not going to win a region championship as long as those teams were in your path. But every single year, you refuse to look at it negatively. I don't remember you ever one time not being optimistic, and you always insisted that your team was going to look at that as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
You said that the lights shine brighter on those Friday nights when you're playing those teams than they do against anybody else. How hard is it to maintain that kind of a mentality against those teams?
Well, again, I go back to the days at Sunbright, because, we looked, whenever I was at Sunbright as a player and as a coach early, those are the same kinds of teams and names that we viewed Oneida as Coalfield, as Greenback, teams that had competed for championships at the district regional level, teams that had won state championships in Greenback. So we looked at it the same way. And I can remember people, always talking about, if you ever get the opportunity to do this or that. And then whenever we did make it that jump and was able to do that, I guess it just, in my mind, at some point we were still going to get there, and we would have never known had we not had the opportunity right there in front of us every year. So I really looked forward to it. I never viewed it as a negative at all. I preferred to have it there, and still to this day. And Rick can tell you, it's pretty cool to turn on the TV and see, the Minnesota Viking free safety that played right out there at Scott High's field, or, other players throughout the history of, the last 10 years in the league that has played right down there at Scott High, because or against Scott High. We played a kid from Maplewood, James Stone, that ended up playing a little while for the Tampa Bay, and then obviously other kids that have played there as well. So it's always cool to get to compete at that level against some of that talent.
To show you the level of that talent, prior to last year, 2021, a team that was in the same district or region, whatever you call it, every year had won 19 consecutive. Had been to 19 consecutive state championship games, or had won the state championship game 19 straight years. Of course, Alcoa, they had the last 4 or 5 of those in a row there. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and that goes all the way back, I think, Rick Carter's year as the head coach. Austin East won the state championship, and then it went from there to Fulton's run. And the one year that I do recall that was kind of cool was in 2014. We actually thought we were going to have the 3A state champion, Alcoa, which held up their end of it, and the 4A state champion in the same region with Catholic. And our kids in 14, and Coach Steve Matthews, the head coach at Catholic over there, he had told me at the end of the year at the coaches interview, or coaches conference, when we got together and everything, he said that he commended our kids and our team on how competitive we were, because we had gotten down pretty significantly at the end of the first half. We had thrown a pick six on a screen pass, but then our kids came out in the second half and just played lights out in 14. And Coach Matthews said that night his kids quit, and he said they never recovered to the standard that they were before that. and he asked what we did, and I said it wasn't anything that we did at all. I said other than just instill the pride in our kids and the integrity that it takes to play the game with, because one of his kids, and I left it at that point with him, but to finish the story, one of his kids had looked at our sideline and kind of had done the throat slash like that at the end of the first half, and our kids got stirred up. And when they did, they came alive, and we really got after them in the second half. So
can I ask just two quick ones?
Make them long ones.
Part A and Part B. What do you miss most about coaching? And then Part B would be, what's the thing that you're so glad you never have to worry about again?
I guess the thing that I miss the most is just being around the kids and the coaches on a daily basis, and those relationships, because my best friends in the entire world has been amongst the coaching staffs that I've been a part of, and the people around the coaches that are close to our programs. As far as the things that I don't miss, I guess it's the anxiety that people don't understand what you carry with you whenever you are leading a football program. The sickest that I've ever been in my life to this point anyway is probably at 4 o'clock on a Friday before the game. Worrying about things that you can't control, but it's just, I don't know. That's the anxiety that I carried with me, and it's just ridiculous looking back on it. But I know if I ever did it again, I'd probably be doing it the same way.
Well, it didn't say media.
Yeah.
He could have said media.
No.
All right. But Coach Shannon, pleasure to work with. Pleasure to know as a person, pleasure to have you as a friend.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and likewise. Enjoyed the time and the stories that we'll get to carry on with for years and years to come.
Indeed.
Let me add a part C to Tim's question, and this can be a yes or no one-word answer, because you're a young guy compared to a lot of these old geezers that are coaching around here. Ever again?
I don't know. I do know this. I enjoy the job that I've got right now. I enjoy working with Mr. Hall and the Scott County Board of Education. And, the thing that I have been able to find as I've moved from coaching into administration is there's scoreboards in any job that you're in. Whenever I was a principal down at Robbins Elementary, the scoreboard became the TN Ready test scores. And everything in football that we're striving for is to win that game, to have a winning record, to get those goals accomplished. As a principal, it was to improve those TN Ready test scores. And now as a CTE director, it is to grow our program, to get our graduates, our concentrators in our CTE program, more ready graduates and things like that. So it's just about identifying the scoreboard for us. So I don't know what the good Lord has in store for us, but I sure do enjoy the time that I had done it, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now very much as well.
All right, Keith Shannon, football coach, CTE director, principal, farmer. Man of many talents, and tonight our Black Cat legend of the game. Coach Shannon, thank you for joining us.
Hey.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we will wrap things up with our final segment, which will include this week's featured cheerleaders when the roundtable continues. Welcome back to the roundtable on the IH Sports Network as we get ready to wrap things up tonight by, as always, looking ahead to this week's games that are upcoming on Friday night. Now, we're doing it a little bit different this week, and what we wanted to do, we've been bringing on football players, we've been bringing on coaches, we've been bringing on soccer players. We wanted to bring on cheerleaders each week, and we thought, what better way to do it than to make you guys okay, let me just ask you, do you watch College Game Day?
Other than Tennessee games, not really, honestly, no.
Okay, so College Game Day every week has what they call a celebrity picker. For the Tennessee-Florida game week before last, it was Bianca Belair, who is WWE champion. Now, I don't know if either of you guys ever see wrestling in your future, but that's basically you
Not
guys.
since Alex moved out,
She
right?
probably
That's
didn't
true.
either, though.
That's true.
She probably did not. She was a track star at the University of Tennessee back in her college days. You guys are the IH Sports Network version of the celebrity pickers, though, and so we wanted to start with you guys because you're both seniors, first of all, and you were both homecoming queens on the same night, crowned homecoming queen week before last. So first of all, congratulations
Thank you.
on that, and congratulations on what you've accomplished this far in your senior year as cheerleaders. By the way, for those who do not know, this is Olivia Rector from Scott High School, and this is Leah Terry from Oneida High School. So I don't even know if you guys knew what you were getting into because you're kind of the – I don't know, this is an unfavorable comparison. You're kind of the guinea pigs of this segment, just to be honest with you. You guys are going to pick the winners of this week's games. But first, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to speak. I'm going to start with you, Olivia. I'm going to ask you, because you're in your senior season as a cheerleader and you're now into the – you still got basketball to go, but you're getting into the latter part of football season. Has it been everything that you dreamed of it being, and what do you still got that you want to accomplish and enjoy as you go through this last season?
Football season's always fun for me. I love basketball season is too, but there's something different about football and being under the lights. And no matter win or lose, I'm always there cheering on the Highlanders. And before football season ends, I hope our football team gets a good win. They deserve it, and I like to cheer them on through that.
Okay, and Leah, I'm going to ask this question every week to a cheerleader, and you get to be the first one that I ask it to. Now, when Olivia was here as a soccer player a couple of weeks ago, she growled at me. And she was sitting right here where Tim is sitting. I'm kind of glad Rick is between us tonight.
Yeah.
I told her she pulled a because Melissa Rector has growled at me before. And Olivia would probably disagree with me, but she really did growl at me when I said that soccer is the only sport that she plays. So.
Okay.
You don't have to growl at me, too.
Okay, I know where this is going.
But I want to ask you, what makes cheerleading a sport?
Okay, well, honestly, if you asked me if I really thought it was like a sport that you could compare to like football or soccer or something like that, I might say it's not like comparable, maybe. But I mean, we practice, obviously, do stuff at practice. We go to camps every summer. We work hard, but we kind of do get like the short end of the stick, I feel like, with not being considered like a sport or anything. But I guess I don't know how to answer that about what makes it a sport. But Olivia, do you have anything? Because
I feel like I believe there's some aspects of it that are sport, like stunning, and like me and Leo both, we tumble, and so that's more stunt. That's more like sport, like I would say.
I agree.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, to me, if you consider it, of course, former band member, okay? So I had all this stuff too. So I mean, you consider the time you put in it.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to have. It's not like anybody can just go out and do it.
No.
That it comes natural. I mean, there's things that people don't see, just like in football. But I mean, chess is called a sport, and how much movement do you see from chess?
Yeah.
I mean, so come on, Ben.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. It's a competitive, team organized sport.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on ESPN? Yes.
Yes.
Is the answer. Band's not, but
Okay,
we do have competition.
So let me just say though that that's not where I was headed with that 2 weeks ago, and I appreciate, by the way, that you did not call me out on social media because I was watching. I was expecting to see a post.
Oh, no.
Do you know what Ben Garrett said about cheerleaders? But she didn't do that.
Not everybody does that, Ben.
Yeah, you're thinking too negative.
I have never called you out on social media. I have never called you out on social media. All right, let's talk about this week's games. And Leah, I'm sorry you kind of get the short end of the stick because you're the first one on, and it just happens to be on the week that Oneida isn't playing. Not that you would ever pick against Oneida, but so you don't have to worry about that. So maybe you actually lucked out.
Fine. I did. Yes, perfect. It's
Also,
okay.
York is off this week. Monterey is off this week. Rockwood is off this week. I'm sorry. Is York? No, yes, I'm right. Wartburg is the only team in your region, Tim Smith, that is playing this week. So this is going to be a short week of games, and let's start with that one. You've got 0-6 Jellicoe at 1-5 Wartburg. Jellicoe is coming off a 48-21 loss to Sunbright 2 weeks ago, and York is coming off a 34-6 loss to York on Friday night. Who's going to win that game?
Who is it again?
Jellicoe and Wartburg.
Jellicoe and Wartburg.
Yes.
Jellicoe and Wartburg. I'm going to say Wartburg on that one.
Okay. And Olivia?
I said the same.
Okay. Wartburg. And you two guys, if you want to pick, by all means,
listen,
jump in.
Since you say she got the short end of the stick, I've got one that I'm going to throw in. This is not a game this week, but, I mean, is there any excuse for Coach Jacob King to not make the state tournament? What's the correct answer? There's no excuse. Yes, no. That is correct.
Our
answer.
boys need to go to state, and so do our girls.
If
Let's
they
all
don't,
go to state.
if they don't, it's whose fault?
Jacob King.
Jacob King's. If you're listening to this, it's your fault.
There we go.
All right, so now let's jump into Scott High's region, and we'll start with Gibbs at Anderson County. Gibbs is 4-2. Anderson County is 7-0. Gibbs coming off that 42-14 win over Scott High on Friday night. Anderson County a 49-22 win over Carter. So Gibbs and Anderson County, who you got?
Anderson County.
Anderson County. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Probably a pretty easy pick, even though Gibbs is setting at number 2 in the region. This is their week, Rick Keaton. If they want to make a statement, this is the week to do it, and they can jump into that championship hunt.
Ain't gonna happen.
Probably not going to happen. Carter at Morristown West. Carter is 3-4. Morristown West is 5-2.
Carter.
Okay.
I'll go with the Morristown.
Just to be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morristown West is a good football team.
Yeah,
they're having
and
a
you
good
said
season.
they're 5-2,
They're 5-2,
right?
right?
Okay,
they're
yeah.
5-2. South Doyle, they're 2-5. We talked about this at the outset tonight. They've struggled a little bit. They're at Knox Central. They're 4-3. So South Doyle at 2-5. Knox Central at 4-3.
Knox Central.
Okay.
Yeah, Knox Central.
Knox Central, it's
Yep.
unanimous. Gibbs at, I listed that one twice. Okay, throw that one out. Not Gibbs and Anderson County. Last game on the list, Scott High going to Clay County. Scott's still looking for their first win this season. Clay County, one of the top teams in single A football at 5-1. But Clay County's coming off a 62-7 win over Red Bowling Springs.
Scott.
Okay.
I'll root for Scott County too.
Okay,
Yep.
now I'm going to make Olivia, you don't get off that easy.
Yes.
Why is Scott High going to win this game?
Because these boys, they've worked hard for it, and Coach Harris has done a good job with this team, and I think he knows, because Clay County is his old school, and he knows those boys, and he knows how they play, and I think that gives him a little bit of an advantage on that.
Okay, there you
Well
go.
said.
Leah Terry, Olivia Rector, thank you guys for joining us. And to everybody else, remember tomorrow night we have got Scott High Soccer.
They need to give a shout out to somebody if they want to. I mean, we've made them go through the picks. Is there anybody you want to say hello to, or that's going to say, why didn't you mention me, Leah? Anybody?
Wait, like a school
Like
or
any,
like
a person? Yeah.
Okay.
Your mom.
My mom. Hey, Danica. I know you're listening to this. She's listening right now. I'll say hey to my mom.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah.
I'll give a shout out to Lacey Carver, Lacey Massengale now, and Debbie and Joe Carver, best cheer coaches.
Oh, yeah, and my cheer coach, Paige Ellis, if you're listening to this.
That was a good
Shout out to
rebound.
you. Yeah, I was like, oh, we're saying our coaches, my bad. But
Yeah, stay on the good side there. Right
Yeah.
there. And I thought sure Liv would say Alex.
Oh, no.
No. Okay. I was wrong.
All right, soccer this week. Oneida right now as we speak, leading Cumberland County 1-0 at the half. Tomorrow night, Scott High's got Alcoa at 6:30. Thursday night, Scott High's got Fulton at 6:30. That'll be senior night. And then on Saturday, tell us about Saturday.
Saturday is district game against Kingston. If we lose, we're done. So everybody come out, support your Lady Highlanders at 6:30 at the football field.
Scott High versus Kingston in the district semifinals, 6:30 Saturday at Highlander Stadium. A really, really big game there. And, of course, one football game this week. Oneida is off. Scott High is at Clay County. That'll be an 8 o'clock start in Salina on Friday. 8 o'clock start on Friday. Our broadcast will begin at 7:20. Until then, for Tim Smith, for Rick Keaton, for everybody you've seen on the show tonight, thank you so very much for joining us, and have a good night.